All of us are aware of the huge genocide that was conducted in Sri Lanka. What happened in Lanka was not merely a genocide. The Tamils who were killed were brutally tortured in many inhuman ways by the Lankan army. The native Tamils of Lanka had just asked for their rights in a peaceful manner. But persistent state-sponsored communal riots were unleashed and unimaginable atrocities were committed upon them. The trauma of those painful events forced the Tamil people to take up an armed struggle and start a rebellion. Not just armed soldiers, but even a common people were subjected to the communal genocide. We were unable to digest the truth that this ruthless genocide was executed by a Buddhist government. The young man in this picture is Master Jawahar, who found out the answer to this puzzle. He found out the root cause and truth behind the cruel, barbaric behavior of the people who apparently followed Buddhism. A religion whose prime motto is love is God. When there was a war waging in Lanka, he was an innocent little boy. In 2009, he started his engineering studies. When the government of India was about to execute the death sentence to 3 Tamils, namely Murugan, Santhan, Pererivalan, there was a great emotional uproar in Tamil Nadu at that time. Jawahar, who came to know about the Iyazham massacres, experienced a deep, unbearable sorrow. When the Tamil activist Sengodi offered herself to fire to save the lives of 3 Tamils, Jawahar was deeply disturbed and declared to his mother, "My sister is dead there, you should not cook today." Due to his deep agony, he was unable to pass his exams. He completely immersed himself in the problems of Iyazham and had been spending all his time delving into the problems of Iyazham. He had been operating his Facebook account in the name Isaipriya's Thambi, means Isaipriya's younger brother, which shows his deep love for his Tamil community. As a result of his strong perseverance, he was able to find out the answer to the deep puzzling question which was mentioned earlier, and that was the governing body in Sri Lanka was neither Buddhist nor ethnic Sinhalese. They are in fact the descendants of ethnic Telugus who went to rule Sri Lanka as an invader in the past. They had purposefully hidden their true identities as ethnic Telugus, had been posing like Buddhist and Sinhalese to the natives to keep power to themselves. It was them, the Telugus, who committed the barbaric genocide upon Tamil people. That's why they used to visit the Hindu temples in India like the one at Tirupati regularly. Jawahar had great regards and respect towards Thamizhar Ulagam, and he continuously shared all his research findings with us. Based upon his findings, Thamizhar Ulagam released 2 breakthrough videos. Concerned about his individual safety, Thamizhar Ulagam had not revealed the truth about his contributions in those videos. Thamizhar Ulagam advised him to share his findings only with the trustworthy persons and not to divulge his findings to anyone else. Today, he is no more with us. The unexpected death of this magnanimous researcher is indeed a great, incomparable loss to our Tamil community. Based on his path-breaking and incredible findings, this extremely important documentary was made, and we dedicate this to him. Jawahar, whose memory still lives on, was a beautiful bud whose life withered before it had blossomed. Kandy Nayakhs, the hidden history of Tamil Iyazham, rise of Tamil Desiyam, who executed the genocide in Iyazham. Why did they do this? What are we going to do? To find out the answer to these questions, let us turn our attention to our hidden Tamil history. The land comprising the present-day Tamil Nadu, Sri Lanka, and the huge landmass in the south that had submerged in the ocean due to natural calamities 12,000 years ago together had been called as Kumarikandam. The inhabitants of Kumarikandam, who spoke Tamil, the first language of mankind, had been living there from prehistoric Paleolithic times. The very first magnificent parental civilization consisting of 49 countries rose and was ruled by Tamil god kings. Due to an enormous natural catastrophe of a deluge, Kumarikandam underwent unimaginable destruction, and the survivors who belonged to the parent continent went to various parts of the world in large ships. They settled in different continents and later created civilization in those respective regions. Slowly they evolved into different races and ethnics. One parent language diversified into several languages, and people required separate identities depending on the region which they settled. While in Tamilagam and Sri Lanka, Tamils continued to rule their land. In 543 BC, a North Indian prince named Vijayan came by ship to a place near Thalaimanar in Eelam. The truth was that people in the ship, Vijayan and 700 friends, had been thrown out from their homeland. This Vijayan was actually the son of King Simhavahu, who had been ruling Bengal and Kalinga regions. As Vijayan had been creating chaos and confusing his father's kingdom, he and his comrades had been expelled from their homeland. As soon as Vijayan came to Eelam, he first married a Tamil princess Kuvaini. After a few years, he married the daughter of a Pandyan kingdom who had been ruling in Madurai, says the Mahavamsam or the Great Chronicles of Ceylon. All the 700 men who had came along with him married women in the same Pandyan kingdom. The North Indian prince had the habit of calling himself Sangam, meaning lion. As they were the descendants of Simhavahu, they called themselves as Sinhalese. Therefore, Sinhalese are a mixture of Tamil ethnic and North Indian ethnic. Thus, Tamil language mixed with North Indian Prakritic and Pali languages became the language of the Sinhalese. When Vijayan visited Eelam, Buddhism was not widespread as a significant religion. In the 3rd century BC, during the reign of Ashoka, the Maurya Emperor of India, Buddhism was announced as a state religion. Being fascinated by the principles of Buddhism, King Ashoka converted to Buddhism and spread the religion in all 4 directions of the Mauryan Empire. That's how Buddhism was brought to Sri Lanka. Historically, there was never any communal tension between Tamils and Sinhalese. From the year 2005 BC till 161 BC, the Chola king Yellalan ruled the country. The battle between King Yellalan and the Sinhalese prince Duttakamani was indeed a significant war of great historical importance. The King Yellalan ruled the northern side of Lanka, which was owned by Tamils. The southern part of the land was owned by the Sinhalese king Kavanadesan. His son was Prince Duttakamani. Chola King Yellalan was the great king who erected, hoisted, and let the tiger flag fly high in Anuradhapuram, the capital city of Tamils. The Sinhalese king had no intention of waging war against Chola king, but his son Duttakamani acted against his father's decision. His original name was Kamini. Disobeying the orders of his father, he misbehaved, causing injustice in all his evil deeds. He was given the title Dutta, meaning full of vices, along with his name Kamini. Against the will of his father, he took a huge army and confronted King Yellalan in Anuradhapuram. On the way to Anuradhapuram, he had defeated 31 Tamil feudal lords, says Mahavamsam. From this, we come to understand and conclude that under Chola King Yellalan, regions in Eelam was ruled by many Tamil chieftains. This is also a strong evidence to provide that original native inhabitants of Lanka were only Tamils. The young-aged Duttakamani openly invited the King Yellalan, much elder to him, to war. Accepting the challenge, the Chola king, riding an elephant, bravely confronted Duttakamani face to face on the battlefield. In this field, a spear with a poisoned edge was thrown upon the King Yellalan, and thus he was defeated. Though the Sinhalese won the battle, there occurred no genocide. The Tamil community did not undergo any kind of attack at that time. Duttakamani won the battle, saluting the bravery of King Yellalan, erected a pillar of memorandum in the place where he was defeated. He spontaneously ordered in the same place that all his descendant kings must pay their tribute and honor to Yellalan's memorial pillar. The battle between Tamil kings and the Sinhala prince was a battle of dharma. The dharmic principles and the ethics of battle were closely followed. Women, old people, and children were not killed. Buddhism has taught him principles of peace and harmony, and hence Duttakamani had waged a war in a dharmic way, just wanting to win the consequent. He never had attempted the genocide of Tamil people. Another great example of good relationship that existed between Tamils and the Sinhalese was the great Chera king Sengutuvan. The Chera king Sengutuvan honored the queen of chastity Kannagi and built a temple to offer tributes to her. Even he celebrated it as a festival. It's important to know that the Sinhala king Gajabahu, who took part in that holy festival, highly fascinated by the story of Kannagi Perumbatiar, King Gajabahu wished to build one such temple for Kannagi in his country. Gajabahu got one of the Kannagi's anklets and some of her other jewels from the Chera king and returned to his country. Having carrying that one anklet and other jewels over his head, he built a temple for Kannagi named Pattini Amma. From that day onwards till today, if at all there was one deity whom Tamils and Sinhalese worship together, that was the Kannagi. Even though they belonged to different communities, spoke different languages, the Tamils and Sinhalese had been living in unity without any communal hatred.